Okay, welcome back. We are continuing with our playthrough of When the Night Comes ReVamp, Romancing Omen. We're on Chapter 7. We just beat the creature that has been terrorizing Lunaris and fainted from blood loss, I assume, right after. There we go. There's some music. Let's turn it up a bit. Turn it down because it was getting too loud. Alright. I get back to the main menu so I can actually load the game. Wait, that voice is familiar. I coaxed myself out of my little face, finding kind blue eyes staring at me. Amused kind blue eyes. Oh, look, it's Harry without the scar. Young Harry. I smile at him because as much as Harry tries to be annoyed with me, he's adorable when he's angry. Just as a reminder of who this other gentleman is, it's James, Harry's husband. And Major Addington, very sorry, sir. There's that little mouth twitch and attempt to stifle a smile. I know him too well, and as humble as I try to be, Harold Addington III cannot resist me. He blushing. Stop what? I'm not doing anything. He sighed, loud, pitiful. I think contemplation just twisting the knife a little more, making him squirm. Ooh, maybe a few more times might do the trick. Wink. We both laugh when he swats my arm, but Harry is quick to straighten himself up. Ever the professional. He looks at the papers that have been deposited on his desk, a pretty sizable pile for a simple missive by the look of it. A little getaway, just the two of us? Harry rolls his eyes, scoffing. Well, Piper gets sentimental when you go after younglings again in the Till Death DLC. Then he looks at me, eyes narrowed. I shrug, stepping forward to push papers from beneath his fingertips, rest my hand upon his waist, crowding close until he has no choice but to sit upon the surface of his desk. Any time spent alone with you is time that I cherish, my love. The flush that sweeps across his cheeks is charming, as always, and when I lean in to brush his lips with my own, gone is the stiff formality of enforcer General Addington, and in its place is the man that I love. My partner in all things. My soulmate. We're both in need of some time away from here, don't you think? Even if it does involve us being knee-deep in angry witches. I love that delivery. I raise an accusatory brow. You didn't. He huffs quietly, but my statement is irrefutable. The fact that you're married makes it pretty clear. Of course. Unconsciously, we both cast the door a glance. It's close, and I lean in to lose myself in his kiss once again. They say that nothing lasts forever, but all that felt like to me was a lie told by people who never truly found love like I did. I knew that Harry was special when I first met him. I found a connection immediately, only to have it torn asunder when he failed the initiation. But even with an ocean between us, both of us sent on such different paths, we still found our way back to one another. 5 years, 10 years, 15. It's a codex entry. I don't remember. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think this is a new entry because um, this one I think is unlocked when you first talk to. Yeah, this is unlocked when you talk to Harry, and this is unlocked now apparently. Now, since I played through pretty much the entire game by this point on my other computer, I already know what's been unlocked. 5 years, 10 years, 15. A partnership forged out of love, trust, and strength. We were unstoppable. I'd do anything for Harry, but in the end, that's why it all began to go wrong. Harry has the scar now, and you can see the gray in his hair. Before there wasn't any gray. And James' outfit has changed too. Apparently this sash is the color that James's homeland uses for instead of the purple. Um, I guess it's just personal preference if you use which scarf you use, but or sash. But I think for the most part, people will recognize that it means you're a hunter. And Harry's wearing the ring. But yeah, I think Harry mentioned that they were together. They've been married 20 years. My parents have been married over 40. Um, yeah, yeah, over 40 years. 40 years. So twice as long as Harry and James. I need you. Wait a minute. You shouldn't leave that. Not right now. Your people need you. I need you. His smile is as bright as it's always been, but it doesn't reach his eyes. They are cool, cold, and tired. He sounds it, too. In a way, I can't help but blame myself for Harry's recent boldness. I've always encouraged him to think outside the box, to stop being so rigid when it comes to following the rules. And now, please, Harry, this has to stop. He averts his gaze, twisting his wedding band nervously. I know you think you're doing the right thing, but it's not worth it. None of this is worth it. None of what? What are you talking about, dude? I step closer, taking both of his hands in my own and tugging at him to look at me. He refuses, still staring longingly out of the window. I love you too much to let this destroy you. Think of everything you've achieved. Would you throw that all away just to make some numbers look good? He pauses, closes his eyes, then he carefully pries his hands from mine. Ouch. But you didn't, did you? I can protect myself. Harry flinches at my words, exhaling sharply. Do not share this, Harry. You're further away from perfecting it than you think, and you know it. At that he smiles, shaking his head. He steps close to cup his hand to my jaw. He kisses me, and something about the way he does so makes me believe it's for the last time. Ooh, that's not a good thing for you. Not when you're kissing your husband. After Harry's departure, I sat at our kitchen table, wrote him a letter before my nightly patrol. I knew it wouldn't make it to him before his meeting. In fact, I wasn't even going to send it. I just had a feeling. My dearest Harry, as much as I'd love to muse about how I long for you to return to lay with me in our bed, I'm afraid this letter comes with a less light-hearted message. I'm worried. These experiments are troubling me, and I've been unable to sleep soundly since you showed me last week. I fear something terrible will happen that we won't be able to hide, that you won't be able to recover from. Is this really what they cursed all of us with all these years ago? I always knew we were different, but something within us made us stronger, but... Children, Harry. You were children. What are you talking about, dude? Think about that before you continue with this. Think about their intentions and why no one has attempted this before. I'll be leaving for a hunt this evening, missing you every step of the way, my power dulled without you standing strong by my side. All I ask of you is that you slow down, perfect things before you dare to implement your plan. I'm not sure how much longer I can sit back and watch, just waiting for it to all go wrong. I love you, and I just want my husband back. We can make it through anything as long as we have each other. Always yours, James. Another codex entry. And a letter. And this is the letter itself. But I don't know if people remember, but when you talked to Harry after that last hunter was killed, and he pulls out that picture to show you, this one, when he puts it back, you notice that there's a folded up letter next to it. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be this letter that we just saw James write. So that's a nice little detail, a little hint to something to come, but that you don't even think about until you go play through again. The graveyard is peaceful, the air is cool, and the sky clear. The crunch of gravel under my boots is strangely comforting, and I feel a sense of calm washing over me as I stop in front of a newly placed headstone. I crouch down, tracing the carved letters with my fingertips. James Addington Lane, brave hunter, loving husband, cherished friend. I haven't seen this yet. I stand, my vision blurring. There's a searing yet familiar pain in my temple as I turn and see a tall figure before me, silhouetted by bright moonlight. They would put the hunter part first, wouldn't they? So now this is you talking to James, face to face, as it were. James steps closer, standing by my side and sparing his grave a glance. The second you become a hunter, it trumps everything else. You're not even really considered a human first anymore. I guess I'm going to pick this one. Let me see. Let me roll a dice. I look at James, studying his features, registering that he's here, flesh and bone and alive? Or am I dead? He shakes his head. No, but you're somewhere in between, just like me. Just like you? I look down and press my hand over my ribs, and it comes away crimson. My armor is jagged and torn, my clothes saturated with blood. When I look back at James, his brow is furrowed, and I see a shadow emerging from the blackened tree lying behind him. A familiar sight, wandering, misshapen, not human. It's behind you. My words are monotone, though I intended for them to be a warning. My throat feels tight, and I'm once again stuck where I stand. He shakes his head, ignoring the looming threat, his dark eyes focused on me and me alone. It's not real. You killed him, after all. Him? You simply did what I couldn't, what I should have done. I froze. I was too afraid to hurt someone I knew. As a hunter, you know you cannot hesitate, cannot second guess. If you do, people die. He's right. They teach us to be ruthless in our decisions. If it can kill you, you kill it first. I mean, it's kill or be killed. That's all there is to it. Just taken to an extreme. But there's a problem with that. Because if you hesitate and they don't, guess what? It throws me. I thought that was how it got you. He shakes his head. I saw he pauses, mouth agape, as if he wants to say it, but something stops him. You saved them, Michelle. But your job isn't done just yet. Oh, man. I stare at him blankly, trying to comprehend where I am, why he's here, just everything. What did they do to us? He simply smiles. It's somber, almost pained. It's easier if I show you. Show me what? Because, if someone asks you, I forget who, if you know what happens when what happens during the initiation, and you open your mouth to answer, and you don't remember. You just remember waking up feeling stronger, faster, better. I stare up at the familiar building that are not, I think there's a missing letter there. Familiar buildings that are now before me, a bitter taste blooming upon my tongue. I grew up here, learned how to kill here, how to survive. They promised us the world, said we'd be heroes. As a naive child, I might even have believed them. And yet, in reality, we're nothing but pawns. Feels different now, doesn't it? I was so excited to be chosen. Most of us are. They make it feel like passing the initiation is some kind of coveted honor. If not an honor, then what? James looks down at his hands, turning his palms skyward. I see scars, not unlike the ones that cover my own skin, and he looks back up. A curse. Suddenly, the sky turns an inky black. The moon is full, hanging low. The stars are sparse, but bright. With a heavy sigh, James turns to me. Are you ready? Ready for what? To finally find out how hunters are really made. I think back to the comment Finn made the other day, smiling to myself. I've heard that we grow on trees. James laughs. If only it were that simple, Michelle. What do you remember of your initiation? I stare at him blankly, my memories long-existent past waking up in my bed the next day. Feeling stronger, feeling different, feeling better. He tilts his head at me, smiling. As I suspected, they're very good at making you forget what they need you to, aren't they? You would have been taken into the courtyard at night, right here where we stand. They then would have asked you to take your oath, to pledge yourself to the cause, which would have offered you a vial of something which they'd then expect you to ingest. I looked down at my hand, something cold appearing in my palm. A vial, just as James said. The liquid inside is black, viscous, and glowing. I remember, I think. They say those that fail experience great discomfort, vomiting, convulsions. There's still a mystery what makes us different from them. I uncorked the vial, bringing the mixture to my nose. It smells bitter, like copper. I close my eyes, my heart pounding. Then the words roll off of my tongue as if possessed. I swear that no night will be traversed in fear, that morning will be a promise and not a hope. I swear I shall lay down my life in the cause of my duty, to protect the vulnerable from the creatures of this realm and any beyond it. Until my final breath, I pledge myself to you, body, mind, and soul. Then I remember the way it tasted, the way it made me retch and fall to my knees. I dug my fingers into the dirt until they bled, and my skin cracked and my nails slipped. It burned my throat, and my body fought hard to reject it, but I lost. When I opened my eyes, the vial was gone. Not dead, nor the living. Bind them and reel to them the strength of ascension. We summon you to reach your voice and hands to them. Let them be the vessel that will carry us onwards. It is written that this power is our right to wield. Give to their body what separates man from the vulnerability of the flesh. Be that which may push the boundaries of our mortal coil. The blood of the vampire, creatures of the night, consumer of life, impart your keen awareness and resilience, but not be shunned of the light or endlessness of life. The blood of the Fae, tricksters incarnate, denizens between realms, impart your cunning and agile grace, but leave your weakness to the elements. The blood of the demon, purveyors of evil, guardians of the realms, impart your strength, but not your anger. The blood of the lichen, predators under the moon, beasts of instinct, impart your primal power, but not the madness within. Blood. Why does it always have to be fucking blood? This is what they do. And it's been established, I'm not sure if it's indicated somewhere in the codex, but witches cannot be turned by vampires. If a vampire turns a witch, they die and they cannot be turned. So, because they use at least vampire blood, I don't think they can become lycans either. But because of the vampire blood, at least, witches cannot be hunters. So if witches want to help in some way, then they gotta become enforcers or find some other way of contributing. But that's why August is an enforcer and not a hunter themselves. My hands shake, my breathing quickening, and James watches me with a concerned gaze as a realization washes over me. I'm just like them. We all are. The things that we were trying to kill are a part of us. They made us monsters. And I gather it's been a burden, knowledge I've carried for far too long. Fight fire with fire, as they say. A simple human wouldn't stand a chance against a beast we face. The early hunters were true warriors who fought and died too quickly for us to stand a chance. Yeah, sadly true. An order was formed. People who had known of the creature's existence before the day of revelation. People who had befriended them, worshipped them even. They formed the agency, the first enforcers. They studied the way vampires can affect us, the way lichens can curse us. It's simple biology, a touch of magic, and they have a carefully curated weapon on their hands. I do not know how long it took them to perfect it, and I dread to think how many lives were lost. And it was truly only a matter of time until someone took it too far. I just never thought it would happen in the place I called home. I look at him, and he waits expectantly, watching me with a furrowed brow. Someone in Lunaris. Slowly, all the pieces begin to fall into place. Fierro, Alcar, Aya, Azazel. Creatures captured needlessly, hunters missing and dying. Oh, God. I need to go back. I need to find out who and stop them, to protect. I ball my hands into my fist, my heart a hammer in my chest, my head spinning. Something is wrong. James reaches out with wide eyes, but his hand passes through me. Read, Michelle. My vision blurs, and I feel everything around me falling away into darkness. Something is calling out to me, a force pulling and tugging, violent in its desire to bring me back. James. He looks defeated, but he stands a little taller. So he still smiles, and my heart aches for him. Our fallen hero killed simply for being kind. You have so much left to do. It's not your time. Not yet. Of all the wrong he's done, he did well in choosing you, Hunter Dubois. You've made me proud, made all of them proud. It would have been such an honor to fight by your side. He, James stands stoic and stalwart. I'm not certain where I am, yet he remains with poise, somewhere in between, and still as strong as when he was living. Something tells me he's waiting. What? I'm not entirely sure, but I hope that whatever it is, he finds it. His peace, maybe. Tell Harry that I love him. Aww. And another codex entry unlocked. Ah, the first hunter. A dim light seeps into my vision, thankfully not bright enough to hurt, but very much reassurance that I'm awake. My senses tell me the room is familiar and quiet, and that I'm not alone. An aura lurks just out of my immediate sight, its burgeoning power like a fire, and its body temperature too, I'm sure. Behind me, I reach my hand out for Omen. My shockingly hot hand grabs mine immediately, and I almost hiss at the surprise contact. Pain jolts through my skull at the sudden movement. By the time the stars stop swimming in my vision, Omen is already leaning over me, with one hand swayed upon my chest. He doesn't say anything, but there's a glow of heated coals in his eyes, and the quiet command to stay down is almost a physical force. I smirk half-heartedly and let gravity pull me back down. Not that I could have gotten up even if I had wanted to. My muscles feel sore, the kind of sore that means I haven't been moving them for a while. Hello. Of course you're gonna kiss him. I admittedly worry about it a lot less than I normally would, because Omen is kissing me already, his hands clearing my face. He's all lips and tug, and a desperation I can almost feel. Miss me? Omen pulls back enough for me to see his face. He's grinning. I feel his fingers twine around mine, his touch a more moderate temperature now. Aww. He's a little shy at the admission, but I smile, squeezing his hand. That's a good question. Slowly, carefully, I sit up. I expected pain, a half-nailed spoon being pulled on, but surprisingly, it was nothing. The spot where that thing struck me is perfectly healed, only bare, smooth skin when I touch it under my loose shirt. My muscles are sore, but I know it's because they haven't been moving. I haven't been moving. And that's the next worrying thing. How long was I out? Take Omen's hand and kiss the back of it, drawing a half-smile from him. His tail snakes around to half curl around my waist, and he seems to know the question before I speak. Oh, I'm sorry, Omen. I'm sorry you had to worry. I don't really know what happened. But Omen shakes his head, his movements slow as he studies me. There's something in the way he's looking at me that implies he understands. For a moment, I wonder if demons can read minds. Not as clearly as vampires, my studies and experiences say, but I certainly like no demon I have seen before. He can read minds. Well, now it's probably the worst time he could do it. I eye him warily, and I think he can gather where my mind is wandering. Okay, I need to take care of something real quick. I will be back. I'm back. Look at that flash. Omen is quick to assure, despite me not voicing my concerns. I smile at him, simply amused at his mild panic. Of course, it's adorable. Is my worry that obvious? The dreams and James and this faint sense of sickness, of betrayal, still swirl like poison in a pot in my mind, in the pit of my stomach. I don't know. I don't. Omen? Yes? You've lived for a long time, yes? Were you here when the first hunters were made? Did you know how we were different from humans? I watch Omen's eyes widen. I could feel his concern, almost like a physical force. And for a moment, I'm irrationally, absurdly terrified that he'll withdraw and shy away as he did when we first met. Shy away from me like I'm something that will hurt him, like I'm a monster. Which I am, aren't I? Quote, discovered. I feel his fingers curling under my chin. Omen lifts my head. Not that I'd realized I'd lowered it. And when our eyes meet, his face is grim. But there's such compassion in his eyes, I almost shudder. He looks at me then, like he's seeing for the first time that horrible possibility is true, that I'm made up of little parts of the things that I live to kill. My mouth feels dry. His acceptance of me, his knowing me, and still looking at me like that should be comforting. But something burns. Bad. Well, they sure didn't tell us what was in the fucking concoction when they made us drink it and become what we are. Omen squints at me. He withdraws his hand and sits back, head tilted. Despite myself, I snort. Says the demon prince. He ignores that. I almost flinch from his words. He doesn't. Omen studies me with a gleam in his chestnut eyes, his tail waving idly behind him. And for the very first time, despite the show of fire and terror he's made in the woods, I suddenly understand that he is exactly what he had said he was, a demon, an old one at that. We've never met before. We've only gotten to know each other, have just chosen to care for each other, for one another, yet he looks at me carefully like he's known me for years. Is this what it feels like to be regarded by someone so old? To feel like my troubles are dire, but not unique. To feel like I'm not alone in them. The choices we made, the choices my Lieutenant General had made, is that horrible assumption that swirls like a sickness inside me is real. Could they be undone? No, they can't. But where to from here? It feels eerie. Something crawls under my skin. I can't define the feeling, or why it's so off-putting to sit here, to be stared at by my lover, and feel almost bare. Naked. Vulnerable. Is it because he's a demon and I'm a hunter? There's a long, peaceful silence. I feel messy and scrambled inside, but Omen sits cross-legged at the end of my bed, and his eyes are on the blankets, still covering my knees, and I sense sorrow from him. Why are we so desperate to leave the abyss behind and come here? Omen meets my eyes and tilts his head. I can tell he is weighing his answer before he gives it to me, but there's no deception to it. I think he's trying to find words to convey what he means, and I remember suddenly that Omen hadn't been here very long either. When Lunaris were here in the mortal world, I do not know. Omen stops and frowns, rubbing at his chin. Refuse to be the king of hell? His fingers curl upon his knee. I reach out and place a hand on it, squeezing gently to remind him that I'm here. Omen gives me a grateful smile before his face falls serious again. Yep. You would have become something else? Someone else? Well, some of us. He smiles, so pure, so honest. Oh man. He swallows quickly, closing his eyes, gathering himself before he opens them again. Sorry. Oh, baby. I can think of nothing else to say, but I'm glad we met. Omen's eyes widen, and he smiles and takes my hand and presses his lips to my fingertips. The gesture is so tender, it makes my heart ache. I wrap him up in my arms, burying my face into his hair. He smells like incense, like the room itself, the candle that sits burning silently on the table that I've just now noticed. I don't need to ask to know he's been here for a very long time, waiting for me. Omen is warm, so warm, and his embrace is solid. I remember from a very long time ago how instructors and senior hunters had warned me that demon strike deals with humans, not often out of malice, but out of ruinous compassion. I don't know how to say this, but I think I know who's responsible for the tragedies around Lunaris, and I don't like it, not if it's true. Is it someone you trusted? My mouth feels dry. I can't form the words. It hurts, plain and simple. It hurts like a beast had ripped through my insides and spat my own bile back at me. Oh, that's a lovely picture. It hurts and it makes me tired and afraid. That every fear was proven right, every doubt, every second thought that the enforcers never had our best interests at heart. Never. And yet we had to trust them, and they would reward it with an existence worse than death. Omen pulls away, but only enough to lean his forehead to mine. He presses a finger to my lips, traces the shape of my mouth tenderly, but even this close I could see his eyes, and I could see the glimmer of flames in them. You will face your enemy. It's spoken with so much faith. I have to. When? I glance at the window. Completely dark outside. I can't even imagine how late in the night it already is. And I need time, too. I need time to sort things out, both inside my own head, and make an attack plan. Just the thought of the latter leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. I see him watching me, and the way he looks at me almost makes me forget it all. Fondness, a naked affection that I could never have even dreamed of. I do want to forget. Maybe just for a little while. And of course, we're going to sleep with him. When I did get to this part on Piper, I ended up doing the sleeping with him bit, and then that ended the chapter there. So then, in between that stream and the next one, I went back and did it so that it didn't sleep with her because the CG if you sleep with her is a little risque. But they've changed it so now all the CGs are less risque. So we're gonna sleep with them and then we don't have to worry about me going back and stuff. So honestly, the CG of him, if you sleep with him, isn't that much more risque than if you don't sleep with him. You see a butt, but that's it. As if he can sense my building desire, Omen leans in and kisses me. I chase Precious' lips first, tail wrapped around my waist, and his arms braced on either side of me. But he's waiting. Waiting for more. The press of his body and his warmth is irresistible. A sense of flame burning low in my belly. I slide my hands under his shirt and under his vest, and Omen rewards me with a soft intake of breath and deepens his kiss. Shit, his tongue really is that long. His hand splays against my skin into the loose shirt I wear. And suddenly he's not shy at all. I shudder, my head spinning, but it's too late to consider escaping him now. Not that I'd ever want to. Omen leans over me, our lips still sealed, and I feel his shoulders move as he shrugs off his vest. I notice that his shirt has somehow been ripped open. It isn't my effort, I'm not sure, but it's halfway down his shoulders, bearing a tantalizing extent of pale skin as he kneels over me. He withdraws slightly, delicate hands braced either side of my legs. He isn't flushed at all, and the grin he wears is decidedly wicked. Cheater. My words are barely an exhale, and Omen's smirk widens. Something that's not just candlelight glimmers in his eyes, and suddenly I'm reminded of the wreath of flames he'd worn when he faced the creature, and of the way I saw his heart brighten his chest through the glowing cage of his ribs. Of the way he's far from human, and yet it doesn't make me nervous, not in the slightest. Only it's Michelle. I might not be versed in his language, but somehow I know exactly what that means. My breath leaves my lungs in a helpless whoosh, and without hesitation, I respond. I love you too. He smiles. I go willingly, more than willingly, and Omen starts over me. His warm hand rests purposefully against my hip, thumb dipping beneath the waistband of my trousers. He looks at me, our gazes locked, and I nod. Yes. The candles are smoked, and I feel him heavy and warm and hard against me. I hear my name, a whisper upon his lips. The tone is different, deeper and wanton. It's never sounded so good. I push my fingers into his soft hair and let it wind around my fist, tugging. The noise that elicits from him is one of bliss. The graze of his teeth against my throat and the press of his hips serves to tear me asunder, every nerve in my body set alight and ready to burst. I'm close, so close I can barely think, every brush of his hand and hitch of his breath breaking my already shaky resolve. Michelle. He says my name like it's the only word he's ever known, or at least the most important one. And as we hungrily press our mouths together again, we fall apart. Two bodies joined as one, breathless and bending and breaking, crashing like waves against the shore. I lose myself in him, in the way we make each other feel, and in this moment, everything else fades away. It's hidden in me, coming down from an unfathomable high. And that's the end of the chapter. So we'll save the morning after for next week. And thank you for joining me. So there's chapter 8 left, then chapter 9, and then chapter 10 is shorter, so I'll probably end up doing 9 and 10 together. Then after that will be all the DLC. Or mini stories. This one will unlock when we finish the story itself. This one will unlock when we've done this one, and this one will unlock when we've done this one. so that way you're guaranteed to do them in the order they're meant to be played. So if you want to see the Omen picture again, here it is. So gorgeous. And I love that he has piercings on his tail. That's cool. And this is him during the fight, in case people wanted a reminder. Yeah, so what was I going to say? I don't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, so once I finish all the ReVamp stuff, I don't know if I'm going to continue streaming on Sundays. I mostly started streaming on Sundays because I didn't want to wait and finish the Errant Kingdom stuff to start streaming the When the Night Comes ReVamp. But at this point, I only have 2 more weeks of Errant Kingdom content to stream until they release the rest, which I'm not sure when that's going to be. They're not sure either, and they don't want to give a definitive date as of yet. So that means that there'd be 2 weeks where I wouldn't be streaming on Wednesdays. So what I'm going to do when I finish Errant Kingdom is I'm going to play the demos for Call Me Under, which is their 3rd game, which I backed their Kickstarter. And it's going to be partially voiced like When the Night Comes. But the demo only has 1 character voiced. But, well, each demo, because there's 2 different, a bit like Errant Kingdom, there's 2 different routes, but unlike Errant Kingdom, they're mutually exclusive. So, like, if you choose one route, the other route doesn't exist, whereas with Errant Kingdom, even if you play the Ambassador, the Knight, and the Nomad, still, they're just random entities. So, but with Meander, exactly the case. You pick one route, the other route doesn't exist. So, I'm going to play one demo 1 week and then the other demo the next week. And then after that, I'll probably go back to streaming once a week. I haven't fully decided yet. But for now, we're done for today. And I hope you have a good week. And I will see you either Wednesday or Sunday, depending on when you decide to join me. Take care, everyone.